So today I'm going to be introducing a new series that I came up with ages ago that I like to call 5-minute guides. So pretty much the aim of this series is to discuss the behavioral tendencies, best locations, routes, and then just kind of my personal tactics, focused on one species and then kind of just packed into a little guide, aimed to only be about a few minutes long. I haven't done these yet, so I'm guessing it's going to be between 3 and 5 minutes, so hopefully it's aptly titled. But anyway, it seems only appropriate that our first one is water buffalo. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start by talking locations and routes. So when it comes to water buffalo, I have a few different routes that I like. Well, they're basically the same route, but kind of little extensions and different ways you can work with it. So from where I am right now, typically if I'm doing a full water buffalo run, I'll start at this tent and I'll cross the river right here. And I'll kind of work this section. Right in here is pretty good water buffalo area. There's usually at least one herd. You can usually find a couple in this area as well, which sometimes I'll actually start at this tent, cross the bridge, and I'll come and do this section. So usually from here, you're going to want to come into the swamp. This section, also usually water buffalo. This is going to be a chaotic looking map when I'm done. This is not going to go nearly as smoothly as I was expecting. But anyway, you go along here, usually you'll kill 2 to 3 water buffalo in this little stretch here, and then for whatever reason they seem to pile up right here. This is almost always a hub for water buffalo. Lots of times I'll end my route right here, but if I'm looking to really extend it, I'll actually come through the swamp and I'll hunt right up into this area as well. Can also be really good for water buffalo. Now for those of you who don't have any tents on Piccabean Bay, pretty simple adaptation would just be you start at this lodge, you kind of cross. I think the river crossing's right here actually. We'll scribble that out, that didn't happen. So you go across the river here and then you kind of just do this section because there'll be water buffalo in here as well. So you could even extend my route. If I wanted to do it, I could even extend it myself and I could start here and do that without using the tents, but this section just doesn't produce as much, so I do tend to skip it. So when it comes to actually taking down a water buffalo, a lot of people prefer a big gun that'll pretty well stop it in its tracks. But I actually prefer to bow hunt them. Oh, that's not a bow. That's the other method. You can just take that thing and just blast them in the face. It works pretty good. But my preferred method is actually just running up to them with a bow. You can kind of dance around them a little bit, sidestep them. There's a lot of different. If you get close to them, they kind of can't turn as fast as you can go around them, so you can kind of just run around circles like this, and you can pretty well just play with them as much as you want until you're ready to pretty well put an arrow right through their head. So that's typically how I do it. It's just more efficient. You're not making a bunch of noise, spooking them everywhere. One thing to note is, though, if you're running up to a water buffalo and they're actually in contact with the water, or they have water between you and them and they try to charge, and they actually end up touching the water, they will spook. You can't run up to them in the water. I'm not sure why that is, but it just is. That's a good thing to know if you weren't aware of that. So we've got our female water buffalo, 118, and as you saw, you can just run around them, and once they square up, you put that arrow pretty well right between their eyes, up just a little bit, and you'll get brain just about every time. And I think that pretty well concludes our first 5-minute guide video. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out. I kind of did that on the fly. Hopefully future videos in this series will be a little bit more refined, but I think I did a good job with that one.